Everybody. Today is Tuesday, July 17th, 2018. I'm Goes, that's Dan. Voice you hear in your head, Dan Yokers. Confirm it.
I like to play.
I like to play. Yes, Wayne's World. Points.
Today's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, it is.
Man, my ears hurt from this headset, though. I don't know who keeps... Jake Peralta keeps using my headset.
I wish I had that.
Start up soon?
I think so. I've been rewatching it from the first season. It's so good. I can't find like a string of episodes that I don't like. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like it'll peter off and then it'll get better. And
Peter off.
What the fuck does that mean, Danny?
Peter off? Yeah, what does Peter off?
Peter off? Peter off means like it kind of just like it gets like monotonous, where it just like it's really slow. The story doesn't.
Dude,
it doesn't matter anymore.
Never heard that in my life.
You don't.
Heard that
You've
before?
never heard petered off?
I don't want to share. I've heard it, but it just gives me a visual that I'm not comfortable sharing, even on the pre-show.
Is it Peter off or peated off or what are you saying?
Petered off.
Yeah, like that.
Peter.
Yeah.
Ah, crap.
I don't know how it's spelled, but it's a pretty common.
I've never heard that. Is that an East Coast thing or is that everywhere?
I think it's everywhere.
Did you just make that shit up?
I swear to you, it's a common phrase.
It definitely.
Huh.
I don't see very many Spanish-speaking households using the phrase "petered off." To be fair to Goes, though. So
I'm gonna see. Do you guys think George will have heard of it or never?
I'm gonna say no. You guys are from the same.
I'm trying to think. I know there's a movie where one of the characters says, kind of just petered off. I think it was not Black Sheep. What was Tommy Boy?
Yeah, you know what?
Where he gets off the plane and he goes, you were supposed to call me. And he goes, I did try to call you. Oh yeah, well what number did you dial? And he goes, 246-9. Because he kind of just petered off there at the end. And did I hear a niner?
You know what?
From a walkie-talkie?
You know a movie that for sure used the word peter off. I'm just gonna say it for whatever reason. It's one of my forgotten movies. Is Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh.
I bet
really?
you. I bet you the dad or something said peter off at one point in time during that movie.
I like when he sucks Sasquatch right in the mouth.
You know what else?
I always wanted to do that to somebody.
You know what else is a forgotten movie to the point where like you can't find it in video stores and even hard to find like on online video stores, much less streaming. The second Island Dr. Moreau with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando.
Second one?
Yeah, because the original one was in the 70s
no.
and it was like with this British actor and it was really badly done.
That's the only one I know of. Is the one with Val Kilmer and.
Yeah, that was a remake, and
that's where they get the guy from South Park, right? The old man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Marlon Brando's character, and like there's bunches of stories of like the contentions with the actors and the directors, and just people not showing up to set and getting in fist fights and insanity that took place in making that movie. That's why it's such a train wreck. That's why I like it. Danny, have you seen Whiplash or Ghost? You too?
Yes.
What is it about?
It's really good. Drummer, jazz.
Come back. Or starting. Stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
It's the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show inside the Mandalay Bay. That's us doing our thing, trying to switch things up. Dan Goes, Danny back east. What's up?
Wow, that was pretty cool.
All right.
Different.
Good morning.
Different, yeah. I saw the pointing and I go, let's switch things around.
You don't
Hey,
like- you don't
are
like
the
the
Dodgers going to get some guy from the Orioles that's supposed to be a stud?
I don't know. I haven't heard that.
Machado?
Machado, yeah.
Really?
Manny Machado?
So at the
They
beginning
might
of the
be.
season, I thought I didn't think this was going to be a good year for us, and it started off.
Why not? You went to the World Series.
Because they didn't really do anything. I felt like to improve the team. Now nobody knew Kemp was going to become a beast again, but I just didn't feel like we did enough moves, and all the other top teams were moving around. They're making moves, baby. And so, anyways, it didn't start off well, but now it's actually looking pretty good, and now it is actually looking like they're going to be one of the top contenders.
Yeah.
So that is cool. I'm excited. But yeah,
What's the record? What are they in the standings?
see, the division sucks. That's the thing. Right now they're like I think 5 games ahead of everyone. But
the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In their division, but the division's not that good. So it's like I don't know. See, $2.
Oh, that's
there.
right. Dan's a Dodgers fan.
For life.
All right.
George.
Yeah.
So I started off as a big Dodger fan, but then I just started petering off, and I don't know.
Is you were gonna like give up on the Dodgers or just give up on the
No.
season?
What I wanted to do was I wanted to know if you knew what that meant, petering off. Have you ever heard that? Danny used that on me this morning.
I
and
have heard it.
Never heard that in my life.
I have heard it.
It is a thing?
Yeah.
Is it East Coast thing or just everywhere?
No,
thing?
well, I don't know. I've heard it before years ago, but I don't hear it too often.
What does
but
that mean, petering off?
I guess tapering off, maybe. I don't know.
Well, why wouldn't you say tapering? What is so
I-
cool about petering off?
Let's look it up. Petering
Off.
off meaning.
Danny made it sound like that shit. just gets
Diminish
flung around.
gradually and stop. Dwindle to nothing. The hot water always peters out in the middle of my shower.
That's kind of the visual I got.
George,
Yeah.
a shower?
No comment.
Petering off. I'm in a good mood today. How about you guys? You
Yeah.
guys ready to do this?
Let's do it. We're already doing it, but yeah, all right.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Vitor Belfort, did he confirm Hunt and Alexei Oleinik at UFC Moscow? Did you see that post he did on Instagram? He's at the UFC PI with Dana White, and on the back, Dana's got pretty much matchups. What you can see in the background is a lot of matchups towards the left if you're looking at it, and that looks to me like Contender Series. And then on the right, he basically has the whole year mapped out, and the way he's worked it out is it'll say SAT for Saturday, April 7th, so it's got the actual day, and they specify because some shows are on Sunday. It tells you who the TV provider will be, whether it's a pay-per-view, those are in red, Fox Sports 1 or whatever, and then it tells you the city, and then to the farthest right tells you who is headlining. And you can see right here Cormier Miocic, Dos Santos, Ivanov. It says right here Hua versus Ozdemir, which obviously has been changed. That's now Hua versus Anthony Smith. So the speculation was, how long ago was this, even though this only went up 12 hours ago, or a little bit more than that. Poirier Alvarez, Garbrandt, Dillashaw. Vic Gagey, though. When did Vic Gagey go up? It went up about a week before the Felder fight. So this could have been like 2 weeks ago. Because the Felder fight, remember, he got pulled off that fight and he got moved to 226. And I think it got done about a week before that. So this could be like 2 weeks old. But it does say Hunt and Oleinik in the spot where it seems to have the main eventers. Is that a big deal in that it's a big fight? Not really. It's not the biggest fight out there. But it's funny how
You thought this was a slip?
a post can create, a story and chatter, discussion.
I'm already just thinking of George just sneaking into the PFI, the PI, Marty McFly style, with the almanac in his back pocket, sneaking into the principal's office, trying to peek at the schedule.
I would want that sports almanac, but other than that,
It'd be great, right?
I'd be focusing on Leah Thompson. She was one of my crushes when I was growing up. But anyway, yeah, she was good looking.
I like the lady from Weird Science.
Kelly
LeBrock?
LeBrock. It was LeBrock?
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Well, Leah was in a lot of movies, so it was easy to crush on her here, crush on there. I thought Kelly LeBrock, was she a one and done, or did she do much other than that?
Well, she modeled a lot.
I think she went to OCC.
Did she really?
I think so. Yeah, I think that was the big talk back in the day.
Michelle Pfeiffer went to my school.
She went to Fountain Valley, right? And then Cameron Diaz went to Long Beach State or Long Beach Poly. All right. Did I ever tell you I was in Dana White's office once?
At the old place.
At the old place, yeah. And he didn't have it this extensive. He had it done kind of like on a window, but with like a marker. It was kind of weird. But what he had was rankings. He didn't have these fights the way they are right here. Now this UFC PI is probably 10 times bigger than the old spot, but his office was pretty impressive. He had that, and I think the reason all this is there is because when he does an interview, he probably just spins around on his chair and stares at it so that nobody can catch him off guard. Hey Dana, it's great to have you, man. I'm sure most of the time he's either in studio or Skyping or something. But if he ever does do a phoner, or if he ever does need to just discuss it, all the info's there, and he doesn't get caught off guard. But I have been in the other one, and that one had rankings. This one's got matchups. So anyway, interesting. Belfort still is chasing kind of like a seniors league, a legend league.
That's just not going to happen, I don't think.
They tried it once with IFL. They didn't call it that, but basically they had the coaches of the IFL teams fight each other. And a few of them turned out to be like, okay, yeah, it would have been nice for them to fight back in the day. Kind of like what Bellator did, except the fights just didn't deliver for the most part, at least not for me. And it was competitive in that they were both past their prime, whoever they matched up. But I don't know. I guess they could try it again, like.
But what constitutes a senior?
I'll put it to you this way: Bisping's retired, right?
Yeah.
And so is Dan Henderson. But I would see a part 3. What I don't want it to do is headline a card, or be a co-main event probably. But if it just kind of had its own thing, I'd probably do it.
Is there like a division? Like what is it? Just super fights?
What
There's
Vitor's
no
saying?
title or anything, right?
I guess it's just matchups. Agree on a weight and let's fight.
And then how long would somebody have to be out or whatever to be eligible for something?
Well, I don't know. That's his idea. It's not mine. But
Henzo
for me, I wouldn't want to see. Like when I saw Shamrock and Hoist, I felt like they were at least 10, 15 years past their prime, or at least 5 years past the last time I saw at least something out of at least Ken. Hoist for sure is we're way beyond that. But it would depend on the fighter, because some fighters have gone into their 40s, and some fighters are still in shape, and some bad blood still is enough of a. There's enough of a beef that I want to see it. I guess, like if Bellator were to say, guess what? Whatever Chael does with this tournament, let's just he fizzles out. But they said, now we're doing Chael and Vanderlei in Brazil. I'd probably be in, just because they dislike each other, and I feel like they're not that far removed from when they retired. And their prime was probably about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, somewhere in between there. And they just recently, or at least neither one's retired, but their most competitive matchups kind of like ended, recently.
Well, what I'm seeing that is kind of working that way is bare knuckle boxing. There's a lot of those fighters that we thought had kind of gone away that are starting to do that.
I just don't think these big names are going to want to get paid what bare knuckle boxing is probably paying. No disrespect to them. They're just starting out. But I did like bare knuckle boxing. And you're right. Maybe we could have. The same way people were drifting towards submission grappling for a bit and doing their thing there. Yeah, I suppose if they wanted. But this one seems risky in terms of like, getting cut, breaking a hand. Submission grappling didn't seem to present as much, challenges in terms of staying healthy there and continuing in your career, whether you're riding out a suspension or what. All right, in New York, Bellator's having a press conference regarding DAZN. I imagine now we'll get dates as to when Bellator will stream there
and Grand Prix
broadcast there.
Participants, right?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, they're going to reveal some of that stuff, and now we'll know when we no longer have a West Coast delay or even a European or other part of the world to North America delay. Ngannou seems to be a little ticked off at Dana White. Probably understands his fight was terrible, but he probably prefers that Dana White would have just talked to him first rather than him have to hear about it. What do you think of that? You agree with that, or
no?
Or do you just let Dana be Dana?
I think you know who Dana is. I don't think he should have made the comments, but on Ngannou's part, like, oh man, how can I put this? I'm not saying he is, but when you're being an asshole, you kind of know you're being an asshole, right? So I don't know that the way Dana laid this out that it should catch him by surprise. It sounded like it was something that he probably knew. I don't know. He seems kind of shocked that any of this is coming to light. So I don't know. I don't think Dana should have said it, but he's Dana and he does that all the time, so I wouldn't be surprised to hear it.
I think Dana has every right to say it was a terrible fight, but as far as all that stuff with ego, that might be a bit much. You know, he does get pushed in the press conferences. What do you think happened? Okay, we all know it was a terrible fight, but what do you think happened? And then he just honestly answers the question. You know, I mean, he didn't call him like, he didn't call him an asshole, or he didn't say that he had a. I mean, he didn't really harp on the mistakes too much. He just basically he gave a subtle jab in that. He probably didn't give you the best camp he could have. He talked about him traveling to France and before his last fight, and you know. So I think the jabs were there, but he didn't fry him as much as he could have. But I understand the fighters they always want to get spoken to like a man because that's how they settle things, you know. So they prefer it that way. That's why I don't fear too many fighters when I have bad news to discuss. Because I know that if you just come to them, and especially if you sugarcoat it with, hey, I'm coming here like a man, you know, even though I know that I can get thumped.
We all know you guys are great fighters.
In 3 seconds, right, they appreciate it. They don't want to hear it from anyone else. Because fighters they really do have huge egos. They think about them first, only them first. And Dana, I think, has to check these guys from time to time.
It's a little bit of psychological warfare, right?
He does.
But do you want to do that to somebody? People who have big egos usually have weak egos. And do you want to do that to a guy that you want him to get better?
The first thing people are going to say is, yeah, but this is one of your stars. You know, you're hammering one of your stars. You're supposed to be helping him build himself up. And I get that. But what that media member or fan doesn't get is that the UFC only cares about 20% of what that star can be. Has he done for me something for me lately? Cool, shove some chips behind him. Let's do something for him. But other than that, they only care about the 3 letters of the UFC. That's it. Because they know there's another star waiting to take their place. There's so many fighters out there, man, that are out there, and so many the storylines create themselves, the matchups create themselves. It just, you know, it sucked at first. You really wanted certain fighters to win. We have to have Tito win, man. He's our guy. We have to have Shamrock win, Chuck win, you know. And then they started realizing, wait a minute, these upsets, Rashad over Chuck. Well, we just created Rashad, and Chuck's still kind of a star, you know. So all these upsets that have taken place, they've realized that they know what they're doing. So I think he just wants to make sure he checks them from time to time, and when he's checking an individual fighter, he's not just checking the individual fighter, he's checking them all. See, I did it to Francis, I'll do it to you too.
Yeah, I believe that.
You know what I mean?
I believe that there's some fighters that don't think that, though, that they just think they're up here looking down at all the other fighters, almost like they're untouchable sort of way. But yeah, I think when he does check certain people, he's not just checking that guy, he's checking everyone.
It's a fine line, right? Because there's the whole, you know, Dana White's the promoter and you have to promote your fighters, but by the same time you have to have that other side to you too, and find that balance. And Dana's criticism is, you know, with the Amanda Nunes situation comes to light with the, you know, sinusitis and stuff, kind of throwing his fighters under the bus when things don't go his way, sometimes unfairly. And I'm on that side.
What happened again with that one again?
You know, with the she
pulled out the same day.
Yeah,
she
the
had
same day.
sinusitis. And what was his comments?
I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was he did the post-fight presser. Maybe it was even the pre-fight, but was essentially just sounded very dismissive. And he's done this like a bunch of times before, so that makes it hard to kind of side with White to be like, oh yeah, he's checking him, and then also, even if putting all that aside, that personal opinions or anybody's personal that stigma on Dana, whether he's maybe unfairly at times he's promoting his fighters great. Obviously, nobody's questioning how great of a job he's done, but I think being a little heavy-handed unfairly at other times. And I know this isn't an opinion that I'm alone in sharing. I'm actually not even just sharing it. I'm just reflecting an opinion that a lot of people have. But putting that aside, what I'm saying is that where is the line, putting all that aside, where is that more of a coach's, as far as performance and trying to get someone's performance, checking the ego, isn't that more of the coach's job, you know what I'm saying, than a promoter's job?
To check his own fighter?
Yeah, there's a weird line.
No, they have a relationship. Did you see Dewey Cooper was Ngannou's coach? I just don't see Dewey
not
crushing.
For the last one, though, right?
No, for the last one would be, you're right.
And that's another...
Well, but he same thing, he could have criticized the fact that he went to Paris. Dewey was with him for the Miocic fight. Wood was with them for the Lewis fight. Well, I don't think the coach is going to crush their own athlete.
No, not crush, but I mean there are ways to, if you're training, you check your fighter, as far as giving them lessons, being real analysis, and then of course toward the fight. Yes, of course you're coordinating who they're training with in sparring, and the sparring partners. You have good sparring partners. They're making sure they're giving you work and your looks, but they're not trying to hurt your guy. You know what I'm saying? In other words, it's carefully crafted to build their ego, but at the same time, they have to be the ones in the gym to kind of do that, and that kind of opens up a whole other bag of worms, which is like you guys were just mentioning. Well, he was with this guy for this camp, he's with that guy for this camp, but he's got a relationship with Dana. If you have a relationship with Dana White, that's great. If he likes you, that's great. That's all a bonus. I'm not hating on that. But as a fighter, where does Dana White or the promoter fit in your model as far as aside from you impressing him and him paying your paychecks? Your performances that stuff needs to be figured out in the gym. That's not going to be from a conversation or from a press clipping from Dana White, even if it's well intentioned. And the example I was going to bring up as far as the line goes, and as far as that style, Dana White's style, in his defense, in Dana White's defense, it's funny. I was just watching the movie Whiplash last night, and it's about it's a really good movie. People haven't seen it. It's about a drummer, a young kid who's learning how to drum, and there's this insane drum teacher, right?
Now I remember.
Okay,
I did see that.
Yeah,
awesome. You haven't seen it? We talked about this, right?
Is that when the Southern bands?
Pre-show, yeah.
The Southern bands battle each other?
No, George.
Or the marching band?
I watched this about a year and a half ago, and I wanted you to watch it, and I just forgot. But he's right; it's awesome.
All right, well, good for that movie. But
it's
what about
fantastic.
the Dana White thing?
The point is, and the guy is funny. He's a very bald, aggressive guy. The teacher, right?
Yeah.
And he seems almost nuts at times. But he cites this example. I'm not going to give away the movie or anything, but about Charlie Parker, who's a famous jazz drummer. And he goes, the teacher has a very unorthodox style of teaching, and he kind of almost throws people under the bus, even in public format. Kind of what we're talking about here, to get a good performance out of them. And it's a very unorthodox technique, and he references Charlie Parker, who was a famous jazz drummer, who cites when he was doing a recital in his young career, a bigger drummer, a bigger, higher-stakes drummer was in the audience, and apparently he was so disgusted he threw a cymbal at his head, almost took his head off, assaulted the guy, embarrassed him in the middle of a live performance. But if he didn't do that, Charlie Parker says that inspired him to come back, have a better performance, and Charlie Parker became one of the best jazz drummers. And that was kind of this teacher's backing, and I think that kind of relates to what we're talking about. So,
is there a hot chick in this movie?
No, it's great because it's great.
It's a sausage fest.
Yeah, it's great because it's an independent movie in 2014 where it's a nice 90-minute watch, so you don't have to you're not sitting in for some sloggy independent thing. Yeah. But if a studio would have gotten a hold of it, they would have probably inserted some. There is kind of a little romance story, but it doesn't take it. The studio would have fucking put a bunch of bullshit in there. It's a clean watch.
So do you like Dana White checking them or not?
I don't like him checking Ngannou or the fighters that way. I think there's better ways to go about it. But Ngannou specifically, I think what we're not talking about here, there's a big language barrier. Who was it? We had Dewey Cooper and Kevin Lee in here, and they're talking about, it was on the show, right? They're talking about joking with Francis, and even them being friends with Francis and joking, they were just talking about how everything was going over his head. They had to stop and explain these things. So now Dana White's going to use passive aggressiveness or whatever you want to call all these kind of very layered things in English and in a public forum through the press. And Ngannou, who's just trying to get his bearings here, learning the English language, is supposed to facilitate that message and then bring it again without
a set coaching staff, which is a whole other conversation that needs to be brought into this equation. And he's supposed to just change it in his next performance. Man, I think reading on Zane Simon on Twitter said if I was a heavyweight contender, I'd actually be chomping at the bit to fight Ngannou before he gets his crap together right now.
Yeah, he wants Dos Santos.
Yeah,
but he's coming off a loss, and Dos Santos is coming off a win. And I really like pairing fighters coming off a win with each other and fighters coming off a loss. Miocic is kind of like a variable out there. He's a former champ with a lot of title defenses, so you can give him anybody coming off a win because he's a former champ, and it doesn't look like he's going to get the immediate rematch, which, by the way, could be another conversation. He's been very public about the fact that he wants an immediate rematch, but he didn't put himself in that position.
He left the door open on the night of.
Unfortunately.
He left it wide open.
What do you mean?
He didn't come out and say, like, I think he did mention I would like the rematch.
He did get screwed, though,
want it.
in the sense that when former champions lose, they hold them off to the side, and then they have them say something, especially the ones that have had some title defenses or some history. If you've been a one and done, maybe not necessarily, or if you're hurt or concussed, maybe not necessarily, but in this case, he was off to the side. You could see him off to the side, but then the whole thing started when DC grabbed the mic and the whole thing took off with Lesnar. So I don't want to fault the UFC too much, because by then you see Miocic actually starting to exit, because I think he realized, well, this is going to be dumb. Like, I'm sitting around. Who knows what's going to happen here? So he probably made the right move, but he does feel like he was screwed. I don't fault Cormier, because I think Cormier was still in the middle of what he was doing, and he just turned it into a promo. Right. Lesnar comes out. I don't fault the UFC. Now, Goes is right. We were in the back for a press conference, and Miocic wanted to get it over and done. And I'm telling you, no disrespect to Miocic. I know he's on the verge of becoming a father. I don't think he's become a father yet, and he wanted to get home for that.
Yeah.
So to that, we can't really say anything. But I still felt like whether it was a 5-minute press conference or 15-minute press conference, those 10 minutes weren't going to be make or break, and I feel like he could have said what he wanted to say, at that moment, and then hopped on the plane and gotten to his wife and been there for the the preparation of the birth of their daughter. All right, but he, I believe, used that as a crutch to just get away from those difficult questions. Because look, he just got beat, man. He just got beat in front of millions, and thousands in the arena, millions at home. He just doesn't know wasn't sure how to deal with that. He hasn't dealt with that in a while, and so he laid an egg. He just kept saying everything we asked him. I don't know. Nothing's important as the birth of my daughter. Nothing's important as getting on that plane and seeing my daughter. In perspective, this, that, whatever. But now all of a sudden, he's realizing there is some things there that could have been said, or even in the interviews in the last 2-3 years when we would ask him things, and I believe every time we have an interview on this show and any other show that's out there, and people are listening, an MMA fan is ready to attach themselves to that potential fighter if they hear something they like and become a fan, even if it's just one, or even if it's 100 or 1,000 or whatever.
That's happened to me a bunch of times listening to this show,
and they don't deliver. You know what I mean? And so when the time comes for your legion of fans, your nation, your army, whatever, they can be a vocal voice, but by then I think the UFC knows who they're dealing with, and Lesnar's too big of a fight to undo at this point, even though he doesn't deserve it. I'm with Miocic. Miocic probably deserves. Hell, I think Ben Folks put it in his article. Garbrandt's getting a rematch, and he got blasted in the second round by Dillashaw. Dillashaw didn't have to take anyone else on, and he gets an immediate rematch. Yet Miocic, with 3 title defenses, who was arguably the fighter of the year in 2016, he doesn't get nothing.
I'm okay with everything he said in the press conference.
Yeah. You were, Miocic?
Well, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But he has to be okay. He can't get upset later on when things don't go his way.
Yeah.
And he can't act like he was cheated, because he didn't do everything in his power to get that shot. So if he's okay living with it, then all right, be that guy. But don't complain about it, because the second you start complaining about it, people like us are going to say, these were the times where you could have struck, you could have said something, it wouldn't have cost you anything. Your daughter wouldn't have been born and said, boy, he didn't pay attention to me, did he? Like, none of that would happen. You could still go home and be a father, but you're planting the seed for your next fight.
100%, and I'm more along the lines of Goes and glad you mentioned Ben Folk's article and him as far as what can you expect, and something that I said on here before. I mean, this isn't even just in defeat. I mean, even in victory, this is something I said here. Even in his victory, it's funny thing about his post-fight speeches. Like, he's very defensive. Like Rogan, like, yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Like Rogan's like, yeah, I'm just saying it was good. Can you take us to yeah? What do you want me to say? I was good. Well. And like he has a chip on his shoulder, even at his highest moments. And I don't want to sound like a hater, but I was just like, but it rubbed me where I was just like, dude, just enjoy the moment, man. You're the baddest dude
on the planet.
Enjoy this. And he had the record amount of title defenses. And the sad part about that is that I don't feel like. And this is something that happened. We're all a victim to, myself included, is that we don't enjoy the rides when we're there. We all make that mistake, and I think that Stipe might have done that. But at the same time, I do got to feel for the guy because what George said, the two circumstances of the DC, organically going, whether you like it or not, organically going into the promo, and the expecting delivery, which, by the way, that's got to be a bad omen because in my recent tape studies, that's been a big thing with the Stipe fight, a fighter expecting a due date within the fight week, especially their firstborn. And I recently watched Shogun versus Forrest 2. Remember Forrest? That was the thing where
he hopped on a plane back to
hopped
Brazil.
on a plane. Got the private plane treatment to go back to the, one of those stories that we probably will never hear of. That was the old UFC, right? And what was another one? Anthony Smith was just talking about his first knockout loss. It was the only time he's arguably been knocked out on this show in yesterday's interview. And now the fight he was referring to, guys, was Adlan Amagov, and he was actually expected to have his first child heading into that fight too, and got his first knockout loss. Some bad omen about that.
I happened to look him up the other day.
Yeah, what's up?
One
fight in 2013.
He retired then, and then he fought in 2016, but he hasn't fought since then.
Yeah,
and he won, by the way. So, yeah, I remember that guy being an amazing striker.
Yeah.
Mike Constantino was his coach back in the day.
Oh yeah, Constantino.
Anyway, let's take a break real fast, and we'll come back. Just kind of touching on the latest news here. We are going to have 3 guests on today's show. We'll be talking to Shawn Jordan and Andre Harrison, both fighting at PFL 4 on Thursday. And then Justin Ledet, who fights on Sunday, UFC Hamburg, UFC Fight Night 134. He'll join us as well. We'll be calling overseas for that one. Now, those are all in the second hour. So right now, let's hear from you, Junkie Nation. 866-522-2846. We'll be right back.
compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
The 2018 NBA Summer League is lighting up Las Vegas, and the NBA Radio is bringing you exclusive access to all the action. I can't talk today. If you missed any of their interviews with Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr, or Dr. J, Julius Erving, and many more, you can hear them now streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. Just search NBA Radio. That may have been the worst read in the history of Rush 93. Apologies. But I can tell you this. The Lakers are in the finals of the NBA Summer League for the second year in a row, looking to win it for the second year in a row. So good on those guys. Let's talk to Marco in Waco, Texas, and then we got some information on the Bellator Welterweight Grand Prix, as well as pricing for DAZN. What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Marco from Waco, ¿qué pasa, vatos?
What's
Marco.
up, brother?
I got a couple of things that I gotta get out of my head. First, on Stipe, I agree with all you said about him not talking in the past, but what about better late than never? Because, you know, we've been waiting for him to start talking, and when he's finally talking, better late than never. I think the best fight for him right now, just to set up either a rematch with Cormier or you know, the winner of the Lesnar-Cormier stuff, is when the return of Cain Velasquez. Because if he beat Cain Velasquez, he can tell Cormier, I just beat your homeboy, and I'm going to beat you.
Ooh, nice angle. Nice angle.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, he might be able to. If he can catch Brock in January, you may be able to catch one more. I know that March 20th or 19th or something like that is a date that he's put out there. But come on, if a big fight was taking place somewhere in April, you know, in Vegas or New York or in a stadium, you're right. Maybe he could, you know, figure that out. Probably not a stadium, but you guys know what I mean. Like just a big pay-per-view. You might be able to get one more out of him. I like that angle.
Last one is Dana White Contender Series tonight. No worry about this week, but next week, headlining is Nick Newell. And I think it's a lose-lose for Dana White because for what one purpose is if Nick Newell wins and he doesn't get a contract, they're going to shit on Dana. And if Nick Newell loses, it's like, what was Nick Newell in there in the first place? So, you know, I think Nick Newell deserves being there, but, you know, there is some dunks up there, some dumbasses that are going to try to pick an angle to pick on Dana. Peace out.
Okay, we'll see it. You're right. If he loses, I think you got to be really hard pressed to say, what was he doing there? I mean, like, he's 14-2, I think, you know, or 14-1, I forget. So he's got an impressive record, and the Contender Series is to see if you have what it takes to be in the UFC, kind of like they've painted it that way. So anybody that shows up and fails, that's not that big of a deal. Now, if he wins, that is tough because they've taken up to 4 contracts, and they've also done 1 contract. So I suppose if it's close and he doesn't get in, then people will say, well, he never wanted him in, you know, at any point. I felt like this was a way for them to at least have an out if they didn't just want to market the young man or felt like he really wasn't part of there, but they succumbed to the pressure. But that's me assuming, and I normally don't think in that fashion. I normally just feel like they did it because they really feel like he's one of the best. But I felt like he was already worthy of just being signed, you know, to be in the UFC. I didn't think that coming off that win, oh my God, that's what put him over. What put him over was his early part, you know, 3 years ago. I thought that's when he should have been in. But so I agreed with them that just because he won that particular fight, now that didn't all of a sudden convince us. But
good thing with Nick is when he wins, it's usually by finish.
Yeah, he's been real good about it. That's what I like about him. He's so positive, and he just keeps proving people wrong over and over again. So get out there, get the finish, win, and just let it all play out. All right, here are the names, guys, for the Bellator welterweight tournament. Michael Venom Page, Douglas Lima,
boom,
Lorenz Larkin, Andrei Korshkov, John Fitch, Neiman Gracie, Ed Ruth, and Yaroslav Amosov. Goes, tell me what's wrong with me that I couldn't do a read today and that I just looked at you and go, how come Ed Ruth isn't in it after reading Ed Ruth like 3 minutes ago?
I don't think you said that.
I didn't?
I said, I think someone's missing, and I think you said Ed Ruth.
I said Ed Ruth, but he's right in front of me. I just read it right now and said, well, there goes that argument. Guess I didn't get enough sleep.
No, we said
last
Logan
night.
Storley might be a guy that could get in there.
Yeah. Storley is 8-0 overall, 3-0 with the promotion. Ed Ruth and Neiman Gracie are both 6-0 with
They're
the
getting
promotion.
matched up. I can tell you that right
Gracie
now.
and
They're
Ruth?
getting matched up first
Think so?
round. Oh, yeah. Stylistically, it makes sense. You got the wrestler versus the jiu-jitsu guy. Let's see the striking, but Ed Ruth's obviously shown the striking. But the Neiman Gracie one kind of worries me because Neiman, I like him and I like his attitude toward the game, but we really haven't seen the striking or those things kind of step up. It's been pretty A, B to C. And he's, like you said, he's only 6-0. And a lot of those guys, they may not be the bigger names, but those are some deceptively experienced guys in there. You know what I'm saying? As far as style matchups, he is missing. That's a bummer. But I feel like Ruth and Gracie are the ones that stick out to me as I gotta imagine they get their stripes against each other first before going against the more experienced guys.
They couldn't come to an agreement with Daly, but that the door is still somewhat open.
Oh, I thought he already signed his new contract. An agreement to be part of this? Or
because
I thought he was already good with Bellator.
I don't know what the matchup is, but I heard only one of these has actually been decided. So
which one is it?
There could be wiggle room. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know which one it is.
Now, it does say that Rory McDonald joins the field in February. So is he...
That is so weird.
So
are they counting on somebody, an injury? Or
it could be that one
worst
of these
performance?
Could be like maybe an alternate bout or something, or two alternates.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying? So like the door is still kind of open.
Okay. Ooh, I'd like to see that then. Gracie versus Ruth as the alternate bout.
Is that what they call them?
Yeah.
Back in the early UFCs, alternate bouts. Remember
they call them supplemental. Or
I don't know. I think they were with me too. Yeah.
Yeah. That Amosov guy is only 1-0 with Bellator, but he is 20-1 overall or something like that. So, Dynamo or 20-0. Sorry, he's undefeated. Other names, I guess, that they could have considered. Joey Davis is 4-0. If you're gonna have a 1-0 guy in Bellator, why not have a 4-0? Except the 4-0 guy is 4-0 overall, and the 1-0 guy in Bellator is really 20-0 overall. And other than that, I think Storley, like Ghost said, makes sense, and Daly, I guess, is glaring to me.
Shamatkar Sandhu, that's at Sandhu MMA, says it will be a 10-man tournament with 2 qualifying bouts.
Okay, that leaves a lot of space for wiggle room, but I guess the big picture for me, the biggest name for me in there is Rory McDonald for the obvious reason of the belt. You beat Rory. What does that say about the belt? And then what does that say about the belts in general for Bellator? And not
wait. If you beat Rory in the middle of the tournament,
right,
he doesn't lose his belt, right?
Yeah, he doesn't lose his belt.
So you're saying, what does that do? Yeah, there is a little bit of a shield there.
And not picking on Bellator, but you look at I'm not picking on Bellator here by any means either. I think I want to commend them for doing this. I'm excited about it. I'm not trying to poo-poo on this, but it does bring the conversation of belts for all organizations. Like, I mean, I don't know. I love what PFL's doing, and their angle on it. But organizations are forced to take that angle. Bellator is doing, tournaments and big fights, and UFC obviously they have their interim title and big fights, and people arguing over there. It's like which maybe this could be a future daily debate. Which organization puts the most emphasis on the belt these days?
Well, it's a good question, and I would like to debate that. But I'll tell you this much: the old school fans appreciate tournament winners, Grand Prix winners.
Oh yeah.
From any promotion. We just mentioned the Dan Henderson the other day, that rings tournament that he took down. I think it was 32 fighters, and Babalu and Big Nog, they got taken down along the way. Shogun Hua was a Grand Prix winner.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, his teammate Vanderlei was the middleweight champ, which is the light heavyweight weight class here in North America. But he did become a UFC champ, so he can boast being a former UFC champ and a former Grand Prix winner. At that time, that Grand Prix he won was massive. Daniel Cormier's Grand Prix, same thing. They had some good names there as well. There's a lot of Grand Prix that stand the test of time, and they're just as respected as, I guess, owning a belt. So even though he wasn't the Strikeforce champ, I think at the time, Alistair held it, and he just wasn't defending it. Nobody was defending it for like 3 years. That winning that Grand Prix was huge for him, But so if Rory wants to collect the belt, then good on him to be a part of this Grand Prix. Yeah, he can be in the Grand Prix, lose, but he's still the Bellator welterweight champion. I've seen that. I don't know how I feel about it, but
I don't like it.
Yeah, it does feel like a waste, but I guess he can't do. But we can't have him defending, but that's not having a Grand Prix. You know what I mean? I guess if you give him an opponent, and now the opponent's going to go, well, I wanted to be in the Grand Prix. Maybe, I don't know. Think about this, guys.
Well, you are in the Grand Prix, is what I would tell him. You just won the biggest Grand Prix. You got a title shot.
Possibly.
It's on you if you didn't win.
Possibly, yeah. I will say this. When DC put that picture the other day, no matter what you thought, the UFC belts look nice. He's had them all there. And then you look at the other ones, and if you're not familiar, one's King of the Cage, and one is ex-MMA in Australia, and then one was Strikeforce. A belt's a belt, especially if you collect them like that. You know what I mean? Dude. And so I think whoever wins this, man, should be very, very proud, and hopefully it gets them a shot. And if Rory loses, I guess I can just stomach it and be okay with if he lost it there and he's still the champ. What are you going to do?
Dude, I got dinky medals that I'm proud of. I mean, yeah, a belt's a belt, and at that level, no one can take away those kind of accomplishments. And I agree with the Grand Prix thing as well. Yeah, I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I'm a big fan of that, and I like the Overeem reference too, because I remember that was even in MMA, the K1. I just remember watching that and watching him fight a young Tyrone Spong, and you remember those things imprint in your head because of this. I think because of the stakes, right? I got to imagine that's what it is, right?
Too.
The stakes.
Hell yeah! It was a lot of money, and it was when you were the world K1 Max champ. I mean, you're a stud in that sport,
dude.
So Alistair was a world K1 Max champ, a Dream champ, a Strikeforce champ. The only thing he came up short was in the UFC as far as acquiring that belt.
Yeah.
But that was still 3 belts to be proud of. Especially the fact that dual sports, it's pretty amazing. You know who's the most proud of his medals? I know you know. Yeah, I already saw you formulating the words, but do you know who's the most proud of his medals?
No, who's that?
Muttley the dog. He loved medals, didn't he?
Do this.
Did you ever see Muttley and Dastardly back in the day?
No, man. That's what I before
Scooby-Doo Laugh Olympics. The dog.
Oh, yeah.
He loved getting patted on the head.
Yeah,
and he loved the medal.
Yeah, he did.
Our dog, Max,
that's old school.
When I walk up to him and he knows I'm going to do it, he kind of goes like this. Kind of like he shrugs, kind of like he loves getting patted on the head. But Mudley used to love a medal more than anything.
Man.
Russ in Boston, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on?
Russ.
Hey, speaking of cartoon dogs, my favorite is Astro from the Jetsons.
Oh, yeah.
Astro was okay.
Take me to Astro's grave.
I don't know if Dino counts as a dog, but Dino used to crack me up.
He was a small brontosaurus? Or he wasn't a raptor, right? He was a small
Raptor.
brontosaurus.
Yeah, we've had this argument. He's a brontosaurus.
You're starting an argument again.
He's not a raptor. Do you know what a raptor looks like?
Yeah,
he's not a small brontosaurus.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's
not really a dog either, right?
He's what?
Well, he's definitely not a dog.
He's a prepubescent brontosaurus.
He's a pet.
He's a pet.
And he's a small brontosaurus. Cause imagine having a big brontosaurus in the house that they had to kind of figure that out and just laugh. But I don't think he was a raptor for sure.
All right, enough of this cartoon nonsense. Hey, I was.
I'm going to look him up. Go ahead.
You started this all, Russ.
Well, I did. Hey, so I was watching this DAZN press conference. I know you guys want to get into it, but I love the fact that that Anthony Joshua fight in September is going to be on DAZN. I'm not even a really big boxing fan, but the last 2 Anthony Joshua fights, I go over to my buddy's house and we order pizzas when we watch it. He's a really big name, and that first month of DAZN in September with the big Bellator card and Anthony Joshua. I mean, if you're an MMA fan or a junkie and you don't at least try it out, I think you're foolish.
It's $10.
What are the details there? It's $10 a month.
Here's what I like about it.
First month free.
You can technically they let you stream 3 devices at the same time. So you and I live together. You can pay $10 one month, I pay the next month, and we can both have DAZN. It doesn't seem so bad in that fashion. But every month, what are you getting for it? Because we know Bellator. I mean, are you just paying for Bellator? I guess now Russ says there's a little bit of boxing too. What else comes along with it?
You get the Anthony Joshua pay-per-view on DAZN?
Well, he never fights on pay-per-view. He's always been a Showtime guy. So I guess they struck a deal, and he's going to be fighting in September.
On DAZN.
His next fight is on DAZN. Correct.
So I wouldn't have to pay for him on Showtime, although one could argue you pay for that premium service. But I don't like the number 10, honestly, for having to pay that, especially when ESPN Plus is giving me what they're giving me for $4.99. I feel like they're giving me more, but I have to be fair and look into what DAZN is offering. But if you're just telling me Joshua and Bellator, I was getting Bellator already, and I was getting it live. I have DirecTV. I wasn't getting no time delay other than when they were in Europe. But are you digging it?
I'm not hating it, but I was more looking for like a $5.99 around there.
Big picture, it sucks, but when you put the number on it, like George said, I'm going to expect a lot more with it. And that's why I'm glad. Thanks for us for saying the Anthony Joshua thing. Because, see, if you throw in some Anthony Joshua in there, maybe they acquire that new bare knuckle fighting league. Maybe some of that child fighting championships in Russia. Dan Tom's in. Just kidding.
Well, it's a free trial to start with, so for me, that's obviously what I'm going to do. I'll
you
check
must
it
have
out
blown a load when you saw that, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
No, so I'll see what hopefully they put out the schedules a month or two in advance. That way you could see if you still want to keep it. But I will definitely check out the first month, the free trial, and just see how the service is. I mean, they could have a ton of fights, but it could be some of these streaming services when they start, they're not always the smoothest ride. So we'll see how it goes. But I think it's worth trying.
I believe this one's been around for a while, just not in the United States, right? So
yeah.
I think they've probably worked all that type of stuff out. But is it one of those things where, like with UFC Fight Pass, if you pay it all up front, it goes from being like $10 to like $6.99 or something like that? If they had something like that, then maybe I could stomach it.
Hey, for me, it's worth a try. I'm looking forward to those because the Bellator one is a big event, and that Anthony Joshua fight for me is a big deal. Like I said, it was on Showtime. Obviously, Showtime comes with all kinds of great programming and other boxing. But I know they signed up with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing, and I was watching the press conference earlier, and they had some other boxers there speaking to the media and stuff like that. So there's going to be quite a bit of stuff on there, but I don't know how many marquee names are going to be fighting on it. But for me, that's worth it to try for September, and I think that I think more people should try because I think it should be a good deal. I like it. I've been watching a lot of boxing lately, and the Bellator card is really good. I like that card.
I'm going to give it a shot, but you got to keep me entertained, otherwise I'm going to start petering off on this one.
Stop saying that.
Thanks, Dan.
We got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93.
I get paid to say things in this cool voice, and they get paid to be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
The Killers are playing a private show for SiriusXM subscribers at the Stephen Talkhouse in the Hamptons, and we have your chance to be there. One grand prize winner will win a trip for two and tickets to this very special show. Official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/The Killers before July 18th. No purchase is necessary. I just don't like the $10. I don't give a fuck if Anthony Josh was fighting there or not. If he wasn't charging me before, I'm not gaining anything. 10 doesn't match up to what the UFC's doing for 5.
For a second, I thought you were going to say, I don't care if he's fighting naked. I was like, what?
No, I just don't see. I don't see that, man. I'm not feeling this. I guess I'm trying to find out what else DAZN offers, but so far I'm not digging it. I don't care how many devices you can hook up. That doesn't ever really seem. That's never really seemed to be a problem, though. I mean, like, when's it really ever?
Because now instead of it being $10 a month, it's $5 a month. And if Dan Tom were on board, we're splitting it 3 ways. Because all 3 of us can watch it wherever we're at.
$10 a month. That's like.
Why don't they just do $3 a month and everyone can watch their own thing?
Because there's dummies that'll pay 10.
Hey, listen, $10.
That seems sneaky.
$10 a month's a lot of money, Goes. I mean, that's like 5 lifetime sports fandoms for Dan Tom.
Yeah,
it is. Right? Netflix, this deal right here, YouTube Red, man, oof.
Yeah,
it can add up. Still on YouTube Red? Did you ever cancel?
I didn't cancel. I got dinged.
Karate Kid got you.
Do man.
I got dinged. Yeah, but I like watching stuff without commercials, without those little advertisements. But I suppose if they don't come out with anything else, I just need to cancel it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't think it's gonna sit well with MMA fans. Russ is right. Try it. It's free, but the announcement's supposed to have pop to it.
Yeah.
And I just remember when we said, "Oh man, another streaming service, ESPN." As soon as someone dug into it and said, "Oh, $4.99, that's it." Fuck. I mean, you can reason that, but 10 on top of that. If they had been first, maybe I don't know. And then WWE gives you all that content, and I think they're $9.99, and you get motherfucking pay-per-views with them. They're the ones that kill it the most.
Should have MMAjunkie Red with it comes with a Danny shot in studio.
All right, we got an hour to go on the MMAjunkie radio show. See you in a couple seconds. Minutes. MMA Junkie Radio Show. Big shout out to Gerard and Chris, who I imagine are from New York. And they are family/friends of the legendary Rick Budo, great caller to the show. And Gerard was very helpful in that he has pitched a vote towards Dino, the pet, for the Flintstones, being a brontosaurus versus a raptor. I was looking it up during the commercial.
Did you get the picture?
And he looks like a small brontosaurus versus a friendly raptor.
Yes.
There's no way he's a raptor, Danny. I don't know what you're thinking. And he's on 4 legs.
He's on 4 legs in the picture that Goes is showing us.
Yeah, because Goes skewed a picture. He picks the picture where he's chained up, having to sit there while Fred and Barney leave. That's where he has to sit.
Well, where's he? In what episode is he ever attacking anybody or eating anybody? What,
No.
When is he hunting? When is he in a pack?
Think of the children.
He's supposed to be. Why would he be hunting if he was a friendly one?
He's not
Anyway,
a raptor. I know
what I said over the break was, if you guys are willing to admit he's not a brontosaurus, I'm willing to admit he's not a raptor.
No, I'm not conceding that one.
Yeah, he's a brontosaurus.
Yeah, we got to get to Shawn Jordan here. He's fighting at PFL on Thursday. I want to ask him. That's my leadoff question. Shawn Jordan, you there?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. Hey, you're an older cat. I'm sure you've seen the Flintstones. Is Dino, their pet, a brontosaurus or a raptor?
Well, see, in some shows he looks like a brontosaurus, but some of them they have him walking on 2 feet with shorter arms. So I don't know. It's kind of, I guess, what series you're watching.
That's not an answer, Shawn Jordan.
Just muddy the water.
He answered like me.
But when they got to when they started doing the playoffs or the spin-off, the movies, he looked more like a friendly, like you said, a friendly raptor.
All right, let me put it to you like this. Oh, so what is he then?
Cartoon Dino, you would say, is more brontosaurus, but movie Dino is raptor. Okay, so yeah, we're just talking about cartoon.
Cartoon. Yeah.
The cartoon is a brontosaurus.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you. The voice.
He never walked, bipedal. So.
Our producer Danny's gonna erupt any second now because he's on the side that it's a raptor. But Danny, just so you know, you're in Manhattan. If you got a problem, head on down to Long Island. That's where Shawn Jordan is. Take it up with him. He was the tiebreaker. Shawn, how you doing? You ready to do this thing on Thursday?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, how y'all? Yeah, I am. I'm ready.
All right.
And almost a year and a half since I've been able to fight, so.
Right. I'm gonna get the 800-pound gorilla out of the way, and then we can have a friendly conversation after that. How's the weight, buddy?
Oh, I'm good, man. There's a lot. There's a bad week last time. Not even sure how it went that way, but it did. But I'm good this time.
When we talked to you that time, we were talking about your favorite foods, and you were specifying to us that for the most part, you do tend to eat pretty clean. And so that's why when we found out what happened, it caught us by surprise. I know it's in the past.
Well,
but
I do tend to eat pretty clean, but I mean, I came down from, again, I didn't, it was kind of short, not short notice, but shorter notice for the amount of time I've been down. 5 or 6 weeks. I mean, I had to drop a lot of weight to even get in the realm of be able to cut. I've been Mr. Mom for the last year and a half. So I mean, it was just, bad timing. It was a bad week. It was my fault. I mean, whatever, it's my fault. However it worked out, that's just where it was.
Right. Okay. Well,
I was doing everything I could to get there. It just didn't happen.
Now you can still get 6 points by beating Josh Copeland and finishing him early, or 5 if it goes to round 2. And that, in my opinion, if you do the math, can get you into the final 8. I guess the goal is to not only win, but also get into the final 8.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the goal. And he's in the same boat, even though he got to fight one other time. So, I mean, it's just one of those situations where both of us are probably be gunning for the other. Well, I mean, I fight that way anyways, so it's nothing different for me.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, Goes, what do you have for Shawn Jordan?
Shawn, there's been times where here in Vegas going to Extreme Couture, we've seen your happy face there out on the mats, and I wanted to know, for this particular camp, it seemed like you enjoyed your time in Vegas. Will you ever be coming back this way and doing that split camp anymore?
Yeah, I would love to. Again, I think the world of Eric, and Randy and them are there, but I mean, Eric out there is that's my boy, man. I love training with him. And I love Roy. Yeah, it'd always be an option. It's just difficult now with, a wife and 3 kids to be splitting camp times.
I love the Mr. Mom reference too.
I do a full-time job at home. What's that?
I love the Mr. Mom reference. That was a good one.
Oh yeah, Mom. Kids all the time.
Shawn, so what would you say the feeling is getting closer to this fight? I know you were used to a particular routine in your career. Now over here with PFL, does it feel any different? How are you feeling going into this matchup?
This time around, it's a lot better feeling, a lot less crap to deal with, if you will. That first one was kind of a cluster. For everybody. Coming to New York, they had so many rules. They put new rules in for the heavyweight division. There's all kinds of stuff that nobody knew, and everybody was out doing medicals all day. Instead of cutting weight, doing what we were supposed to do normally, routine-wise, we were all doing medicals, fight week. And it's a short fight week at that. You get 3 days because you fight Thursday. This time it's been pretty easy and smooth, so it's better. It's more normal for me now.
Shawn Jordan's our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He'll be fighting at PFL 4, which is on Thursday night, and you can watch the fights on Facebook and MSNBC. For Facebook, it's facebook.com/ProFightLive, and for MSNBC, you got to check your local cable and satellite listings. But if you have DirecTV, like Goz and I, it's channel 220. Dan, Tom, what do you have for Shawn Jordan?
Hey, Shawn, I was just curious, not to harp on the weight in a negative, but more kind of changing the direction of that conversation. We had Daniel Cormier came up in weight and kind of reminded us that maybe not always the bigger guys are the best at heavyweight. And I was just kind of curious on your opinion on that, and maybe not just as far as your fighting career. It's not that you fluctuated in weight. You've been fairly consistent over your career, but you also came from football, and generally we see a lot of football athletes that come to MMA. They're obviously have to make weight classes, so they're more slimmer than they are in their football career. But what about you, Shawn? Did you feel better moving around back in your football days? Now heavier weight, lighter weight. What's your opinion on the matter?
As far as for me, my senior year I played. I was 265. And that's where, I played there, and anywhere between there and 270-ish. But, I do like to be a little bit lighter. Like I said, I've been down for a while, and normally, my first half of my career, I was probably 255, 260, just walking normal weight, Now, I have to, like I said, I have to kind of eat low-calorie diets to stay that light. But, I was off for a while, and kind of just not real sure where the fight stuff was going, and I was, started having to work and do stuff. So I am, heavier now than I was then. But for me, I like to be around 260. I don't mind being lighter than that, but too much bigger than that, it's kind of, having to worry about weight cuts and all that stuff is, it's not.
Right.
That's for small guys.
Right. And one other question that has nothing to do with the weight, but you've had your share of being spotted in some movie roles and whatnot. Have you done anything recently, Shawn, or is that door still open as far as maybe like contacts for any type of extra work or anything like that?
I have not really kind of went into it, but I'm sure if manager wanted to do it, they can get me into stuff. Like I said, I spend much time at home and working now, so we'll see. I don't know about all that movie stuff. I'm a little shy when it comes to all that stuff.
What would be a perfect role for you if you did get an offer?
I don't know. Probably one with as few lines as possible.
You're not selling yourself here. The money's good in entertainment.
I'm good at action roles. I'm good at stuff, but let's face it, I get all nervous and I start mumbling and stuttering. So.
So you'd have to be backup for a bad guy, in my opinion, because he's got the size.
Yeah, or
he can have the look, and you would just have a typical you'd be an enforcer or a collector. I'm seeing kind of a doorman, honestly, but in a suit at an upscale club. I'm not just putting you out there at some dive or nothing like that.
I'm thinking he is.
Like roles that Batista gets.
Batista, all right.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
how
about a baseball catcher? And his only line is he takes off the mask, he comes to the mound, and he says, "Just do your thing, champ." And puts his hand on his arm or something. And play some ball. The easy lines like that, right?
If we're just doing extra rolls, that's fine. If we have to do like a real roll, hey, I'll make it happen.
All right, my man.
Comfort zone.
Well, listen. Like I said, I looked at the standings, and 8 people get in. So the mathematics works to go out there and win. And if you just win, you can still get in. But if you win and finish, you definitely enhance your chances. And you obviously know that. And like you stated, that is how you come to fight. Of your 19 wins, you finished 18. So we're definitely expecting the Shawn Jordan that we've always known to go out there and look to finish and win in devastating fashion. So thanks for squeezing us in on Fight Week. We really appreciate it. And we'll be tuning in to PFL 4 on Thursday night.
That's it, guys. Y'all have a good day, man. Appreciate it.
All right, you too, buddy. See you, Shawn.
All right, bye.
All right, that's Shawn Jordan, PFL heavyweight. Here are the standings. Kevin Tiller, Francimar Barroso, Jack May all have 6 points. Alex Nicholson has 5 points. Jared Rochelle, Philippe Lins have 3 points. Then we got guys in the 7th and 8th spot that have 0 points. But I think they're just there. They didn't do it by alphabetical order or anything. I mean, I don't know how you could differentiate the ones with 0 points, whether they're in 7th or 12th place. So if you win, you do get 3 points, but now you're hoping Rochelle or Lins didn't win their fight. So rather than do that, I think if you can just get to 6, you probably at least get yourself that 8th spot. He's got a high finishing rate, so we'll see. Thanks to Greg Savage for lining up the Savage. You guys see what I did there?
Yeah.
All right.
Savagery.
What's that?
Savagery.
Savagery. You going to Contenders?
Tonight, yeah.
Did you get that email? I didn't get it. I must have forgot to put in for my credential.
I bet you if you still do it, you could do it.
Yeah, possibly. We'll see. I mean, when they turn on the AC, it's a night. It's like a perfect venue for me. When they don't, oh man, it's like it sucks. And then like last week, my ass was hurting because it's those little bleachers. And then when it's it's hot and I'm fanning myself and I know the whole world can see us on Fight Pass because we're in the front row. So I know I'm looking pretty ridiculous.
I was almost the 6th fight last week trying to save you a seat for so long.
So get this.
What?
Goes brought up something that was interesting, and I don't think you actually got a chance to talk about it because I think you brought it up to Juliet. I'm not sure you brought it up on the show.
Yeah, I didn't hear about this.
So Goes, pretend he's sitting and he's in the front row.
Okay.
Or even the second row. The cameraman comes up, and behind Goes is Toby's entourage. Toby, Tobster, Tobes, Tobias, that guy.
Yeah.
So all the Hawaiians were behind him. The cameraman wants to focus on them, but in doing so, he's blocking Goes' view. And I couldn't understand. Did we talk about this on the show?
I think I might have brought it up a little bit.
Not the fight, though.
And the guy never at least went, hey, man, it's my job, my bad. He just stood right in front of Goes.
Right in front of me.
Now, I guess Goes could rubberneck and see the action, but believe it or not, again, this is one thing that I hope, if there's one thing the UFC can somehow do in their future, is come up with some sort of technology that the padding is clear, but it's still a pad. I don't know. Because we have what's called 50-yard line seats on those bleachers into the octagon, and yet we still miss a lot of the action because of the padding, or if you're behind a judge, or if you get caught behind a cameraman. And Dana White's right. There's nothing like being at the fights. Okay, I hear what he's saying. I mean, it is pretty special, especially if you're hitting your parlays and you're drinking and you're with good friends. It is a great night. But make no mistake, the viewing can, you got to be first or second row, third maybe. After that, you do wind up looking at the screen when the action hits the ground, and sometimes the ref himself can block you. The other fighter can block you. If you got front row, and me and Goes are fighting, you might not catch something, right? If I'm blocking you with my own body, and if the referee's there, or again the pads, a cameraman, the photographers. I just wish they could somehow figure that out, because how could it be, Goes, that we're sitting 50-yard line and we sometimes are looking and rubbernecking?
That was a dope. I couldn't see not even a little bit, Dan. It was just his chest right here. And I would have been okay with it had he just said, like, it's going to get dicey for the next 5 minutes.
A hand gesture.
Sorry about that. Nope, he just parked his big
or even just this, right? Like, scoot over.
Yeah.
I mean, anything, right? As some sort of a command that says, I have no consideration, you should move, right?
Something.
Now, I do want to go back to one thing. Affliction and Pride had the ring instead of the cage. God, it was really aesthetically
pleasing.
You know what I mean? And then M1 has a cage only on the bottom.
I actually like that thing. Yeah,
it's not bad, right?
I like that thing.
But I know the UFC probably doesn't want to reverse 25 years of history by going anything other than 8-sided. So they got to go 8-sided, and they probably always want to keep it in a cage. But what can they do? Can some inventors out there, I'm calling you out, come up with something that's clear? And the padding's there to hold up the cage and hold these 265-pound giants that are in the heavyweight division, but at the same time protect them from when their heads, because obviously when you're against the cage, stuff's happening.
No, I'm with you on that point of view. But as far as the cameraman thing, I just wanted to say that. I don't think we're cameramen, so we can weigh in on this, but I think something that supports Goz's argument is that I don't know if it's maybe because they're in the Contender Series and in the Tough Gym, because I've seen before somebody watch stupid amounts of fight footage and you end up paying attention to stuff outside the ring because it's much more funnier or much more interesting than stuff that happens inside the ring. I think it was a UFC Gdansk, and they had like Conor McGregor in the audience, so they essentially had like a cameraman posted at McGregor's for McGregor close-ups, like for a good portion, right? So when the fight's going on, Lobov and Feely, I'm looking in the background. I'm like, dude, is this guy? Because Dan Tom's head's like just in a bunch of places sometimes, and I'm like, is that cameraman just like blocking the person's view who paid good money for the seats just for Conor McGregor the whole time? But if you look at it, the cameraman, at least when he's not shooting McGregor, you see in the background like the action's going on, and the cameraman's doing one of those kneeling things, like a night before the king, like waiting for he gets cued, and all right, now we're going to McGregor. Then he gets up and gets in a viewpoint.
I don't think that he needs to do that though, does he?
Well, regardless, the point was he was being courteous to people and waiting for a shot, and it didn't sound like any of that was even happening with Goz. He just plopped and was just like
goalie. In fact, he had one of his legs was propped up, wasn't it, George? So he was like, he
oh,
couldn't have taken up any more room.
That's an aggressive move when they put I was hating when the teacher did that to you, and class like, oh, dude, just put your leg down, man. This is weird. Sorry.
Yeah, so, man, I'm telling you, if the AC's on, okay, yeah, that's a little bit more of a... Dude, we've been battling like 105 to 110. With no AC, it's pretty brutal in there.
He's going to be like that South Park character we're talking about, the island. We're talking about Forgotten Movies, George, and Marlon Brando on the island, Dr. Moreau. Oh, okay. He's wearing like he's got like he's like sweating the whole time. He's got this thing.
If you made George watch that movie, he would stab you the next day. I promise you. You would never watch.
How does he watch so? You haven't watched a lot of movies lately, though, right?
No. I just got that crazy memory.
I was gonna say he watches a ton of movies and he remembers them all, which is amazing because I don't remember much. We gotta take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Andre Harrison. Andre Harrison's still undefeated, man. He's one of the favorites out there in the featherweight division. He'll be fighting at PFL tonight as well. Thursday night. And that's it. And we'll be right back after this break.
They were kicked off the set of The Fast and the Furious for being too loud and too good-looking. Once again, here's Gorgeous George and Goes.
The SiriusXM FC ICC Broadcast Fantasy Camp is back. This is your chance to be a part of the SiriusXM FC broadcast crew when Manchester United face Liverpool in Ann Arbor, Michigan. One grand prize winner and a guest get a round-trip airfare to Ann Arbor, Michigan, hotel accommodations for 2 nights and 2 tickets to the match, and press box credentials. The winner will be on air as part of the SiriusXM FC broadcast. For official rules, details, and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/SiriusXMFC before July 19th. No additional purchase is necessary. All right, we are going to be talking to our next guest, who's going to be fighting at PFL 4. And again, reminder, PFL 4 is this Thursday. You can watch the fights on Facebook for the well, they're not calling it prelims. You know, all these fights have equal value. It's just a fight card. So the first part of the fight card is available on Facebook. It's facebook.com/ProFightLive. And then they move over, that's at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then they move over to NBC Sports Network at 9 p.m. Eastern Start Time. That's where you'll find our next guest, Andre Harrison. He'll be battling Nazareno Malagari in the co-main event. What's up, Andre? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing?
Good. Man, I love talking to fighters that are undefeated, especially one that's gotten to 18. No one does that, Andre Harrison. I mean, that's so rare in this sport, and yet you still continue to do your thing.
Yeah, man. I got the best trainers and training partners on the planet. You know, so it's kind of hard not to do well. You know, and if you guys, a lot of people could say, you know, if the athlete is talented, of course he's going to do well. But then you look at it, you got Adam Kolanowski, who trains at my gym with Keith Trimble as well. Mm-hmm. He's 17-0. You got Gregor Gillespie, who again trains with Keith Trimble and Joe Scarola. He's now 11-0 in the UFC, coming off of, I think he has like 4 finishes in a row. So it's kind of hard to argue that we don't. It's not just in MMA either. I mean, Adam is a pro boxer, and he's in talks about fighting Joshua or Deontay Wilder. So, like I said, man, we got the best gym on the planet, man. So unless you just don't listen, you're gonna do well.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. Why don't more people bring that up? The gym, the successes, the fact that there's 4 undefeated fighters in major combat sports doing their thing. That's some cred there, you know what I mean? You've brought it up before, that's for sure, but I wonder why this hasn't become more of a story.
Because we need more media people to cover it, man. I'm like, you look at it, right? Like you said, it hasn't been brought up, right? You guys remember Chris Algieri?
Yep.
Yeah. He's a 2-time world champion kickboxing, and then he won the WBO title in boxing, right?
And he was a 4-time state wrestling champion.
Exactly. And Chris, I seen Chris earlier today when I was running to the gym to get my boxing gloves. Like, these are all the athletes that we have here. Ryan LaFleur, he trained there. He's a UFC guy. Gian Vellante, he's a UFC guy. When Dennis Bermudez was on that 7-fight stint, he was there. It was me and Dennis pretty much for his whole camp when he fought Clay Guida. You know, like, that's all the gym. You know what I mean? Like, if you're at the gym and you're listening, you're doing what? Like, down to our amateurs. We got a group of amateurs that's fighting the week after our fight, on the 28th. And they all do well as well. Cody Payne, we got Nick Fiore. He's not an amateur, but he fights on one of the regional circuits. He does well. You know, you guys name it, man. We got, like, all the bases covered. And then Joe Scarola, again, he's a mastermind at what he does, man. I didn't even realize how good Scarola was until I just started talking to random people in the jits world, and they'd be like, yo, that guy's arm bars are second to none. You know, like, known across the country. This is a guy I'm talking to from California, and I'm like, yo, I just got lucky, man. I was legitimately blessed enough to land, you know, with the team that I have.
All right. You're going to be facing Nazareno Malagari. But I don't know what to ask you because you've seen it all. After 18 fights, you've come up against strikers. You've come up against other wrestlers, high-caliber wrestlers like yourself, jiu-jitsu guys. I don't know that he brings anything other than he has more fights than you and more experience. I don't know that he brings anything to the dance that you can't contend with. But at the same time, there's got to be something that stands out that you'll be looking out for in terms of his arsenal. What is that?
I mean, he's a goer, man. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt in judo. So any kind of grappling exchange, he's going to feel comfortable. And like how you said, I've seen a lot, you know, with the amount of fights I've had. He's seen a lot, too, with the amount of... I mean, if you're a black belt, that means you've been competing for years upon years. So he has tons of grappling experience. He fought a lot of high-caliber guys. Daniel Strauss. He fought Marlon Sandro. Like, he fought a lot of tough guys. And, you know, he's going in there to get a win, too, man. And, you know, I respect him. He's a tough opponent, man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to go out there and display all the things I've been working on. And, you know, it's going to be a good fight, man.
Andre Harrison, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He fights in the co-main event of Professional Fighter League 4 on Thursday night. Catch the fights on NBC Sports Network. The main card starts at 9 Eastern time. Goes, what do you have for the Bull?
Andre, I want to dive a little bit into the mindset of an undefeated fighter. We've had quite a few on the show, and a lot of them say, I know it's just a matter of time. In this sport, nobody retires undefeated. But you can take a combat sport like boxing, and there's a few guys there that did have good careers, Floyd Mayweather being one of them, retiring undefeated. What is your mindset?
Andre Ward.
Are you going to be the guy that retires undefeated, or do you have that same mindset that some of these other guys have had that eventually somebody gets to you? How do you look at that?
I work too hard day in and day out for me to think about anybody being able to best me in the cage. You know what I mean? And that's my particular mindset. Like I said earlier, I did the media workout earlier today, and they asked me about that. They asked me about being confident. Like, when I tell you guys I work extremely hard on a daily basis, I'm not exaggerating. There's been times where they legitimately told me that I got to leave. Like, go home, take a break. One day won't hurt you. Like, that's how often I'm in there. When I train hard. I don't see the point and, you know, doing weak workouts where you're cutting corners and all. There's no point in that. You're just creating bad habits. And so because of that, like, I've been able to string along, like, you know, a lot of wins, man. And I'm going to continue to do that. And when I feel as though I had an old boxer talk to me one time, and he was like, you know, when it's time to get out is when you can see the punches coming and you just can't get out the way. When I feel like that time frame comes, or if I feel like I did everything that I wanted to do, I'll leave, and I'll be able to leave happily that while I was competing, I did everything I had to do. I feel like certain people, when they retire, they look back and they come back because they look at some of the, you know, up and comers, and they're like, man, I could beat him, and if I beat him, then I could maybe get another crack. And I feel like it's a little bit of regret talking. You know, it's a little regret, like, you know, maybe if I would have done this right when I was in that time frame, I could have won, and I still might can do it. I'm not like that. I do everything I could do now. You know what I mean? Like, I've competed, I've wrestled my entire life, and I've done enough things wrong wrestling to understand what to do right now. You know, so I try and do everything as close to perfect as humanly possible. Obviously, I'm not perfect, but I try to do everything as close to perfect as humanly possible. And, you know, it's just been working for me, man. So, you know, I have a set age of where I think I may want to retire at. And when I get to that age, you know, by that time, hopefully I would have made, you know, all the money that I needed to have made and made all the connections. And I could walk away with from the sport and look at the sport will look at me and be like, yo, we're happy we crossed paths, you know, and I'll be all right with that.
Can you share that age? Come on,
I'm going to say maybe 34, 35. 34, 35.
34, 35. So everything you just said, that drive, not a lot of people have. I mean, I think anybody in this sport has some drive, but not a lot of them have it to your extent. What is it that fuels that drive? Is it money? Is it being the best ever? Is it retiring undefeated? What is fueling your drive?
It's a combination of everything, man. I was speaking to Keith earlier. Like, Keith knows me, man. Like, I'm sure if you guys don't know, like, me and Keith have a legitimate father-son relationship. You know, I don't just go to him when it's time to work out. Like, I go to his house and hang out. You know, if there's a family function and I'm not there, people are questioning, like, yo, what's up? But I am at all of them. But if I didn't go, they'd be like, well, where's Dre at? and vice versa. Like, we couldn't be any closer, man. And the other day we was just taking a stroll down memory lane, and we was like, yo, he said out of everybody, I probably had the rockiest go at this thing, because it's like there's always an obstacle, man. There's always an obstacle in front of me. Like, never had like a clean, go at it. There's always been something that just jumped in front of me, and I've always figured a way to get through it, which is, one of the things that I could really like pat myself on the back is that I don't look for an easy way out. I don't look for an excuse to be all right. I always look for a way through something, man. And because of that, it just made like my passion and my drive, just stronger and stronger and stronger for, that I can't take a back seat to anybody because of this. I can't do it because of that. Like, I have to push through. Like, I have to be that guy that just gets the job done no matter what the odds look like. I just have to be that guy. And because of that, like, my body won't even allow me to take shortcuts. How many times I tried to run at a slow pace on the treadmill, and then I'll just get a flash of something, and I got to pick up the pace, and, I end up doing sprints. Or how many times, like, I'm like, all right, I'll just do with this amount of weight, and then I'm like, nah, this is not pushing, Dre. You got to do more. Like, it's always like that. I tell myself 7 rounds in the bag, and you end up doing, 9 to 10. It's just like that with me, man.
Andre Harrison, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. Let's turn it over to the fight analyst, Dan Tom. What do you have for the Bull?
Hey, Andre, building off of that, I want to ask you a question kind of building off that as far as your attitude, as far as being undefeated and how you're going to approach and pursue the rest of your career. I'm going to ask you about some other world-class fighters that are outside of your organization, but I'm going to ask you about them because you're not just an undefeated fighter, Andre. You're one of the best in the world. And there's other guys out there who are, right up there in the best in the world conversation. Most recently, Max Holloway, obviously, and another undefeated featherweight, Brian Ortega. Obviously, you know what happened with them as UFC 226. And let me just say that, I hope Max is okay. And I feel like the right thing happened as far as a fight not happening. But in that situation, Andre, this happens a lot in MMA. We have a lot of opponents fall out, especially when you're in these, co-main or main event slots that you're already in your career. That you get, sometimes there'll be a last-minute replacement or a last-minute switch, or whether there's a belt or the promoter, all these intangibles. When you come across those things in your career, how are you gonna approach that? Obviously, no one's questioning your commitment or your ability, but at a certain point, do you does a business kind of state of mind kick in and say, hey, I gotta maybe not protect myself because I believe in my abilities, but protect my spot? Does that make sense? And how do you feel about those kind of situations, Andre?
When you say protect my spot, you mean as being a top featherweight?
Whether it's a belt, a top featherweight, whatever, what have you, as far as that goes.
Well, in my mind, the world's a lot bigger than your mind, but in my mind, I feel like I'm the best featherweight on the planet. And I feel like in order to make other people feel like that, I got to obviously transfer over and win other belts. And, when the time comes, when it's time for me to do such moves, I'll do it, man. Like I said, I'll give one good. I put everything I have into it, man. I don't do anything halfway. I'll put everything I have to it. Whether it's me going to, transferring to a different organization or whatever I have to do. And then, like I said, man, I'll put everything out there and I'll do what I got to do. And I'll prove to everybody, I'll prove to myself that I am the best featherweight on the planet. And at that time frame, I will legitimately probably grab the microphone and be like, what now? Because people always want to critique you and say, well, you won but this, and you won but that. And it's like, it's very rare that people legitimately get the respect they deserve. Like somebody like Mighty Mouse. I think he's one of the best MMA fighters on the planet. And for me, like, if people try and argue that, it's so crazy to me because the dude is legitimately phenomenal. You know what I mean? And so it's like, how come he doesn't get the respect he deserves? Because he's a 125er? What sense does that make? It's not a competition on weight. It's a competition on skill. And the man there's not a weak point in his game. He can wrestle, he can strike, he can grapple. I mean, what weaknesses does he have in his game? But yet people don't give him credibility because he's not bigger than other people. That's retarded.
Yeah. Can we switch what's now for what's up now, partners? When you do have when you grab the mic and say your deal.
What's up now, partners? Nah, it'd be a little different. I'm an Islander, so I probably say something a little different.
I've always liked that. What's up now, partners?
Yeah, you gotta have that P-pop there, right?
Exactly. Andre, we get to see the 19th edition of your work on Thursday night, and we're looking forward to it. I'm glad that we get to see.
What do you guys think?
Well, I think my choice is that I think you're going to defeat Nazareno Magalari. I think eventually, this might be easy to say, but I'm probably thinking you and Palmer in the finals. I think you got to be the favorites. I really liked Siler, and he goes for it, and he's crazy and he's nutty, and that intangible, might, present him as another semifinalist. But if you're asking me, who do I think makes the finals? I'm probably seeing a replay of the fight that I saw a few months ago when you guys.
Do you think that fight would go the same way?
I mean, it was. You had his number, man. You punched his ticket. That's for sure. You had his number. But I see Lance a lot at Extreme Couture, and he works hard. And I'm not saying you don't, but every fight's different. You know what I mean? But yeah, that night you did have an impressive outing. I got to give you that. I'm sure he would admit that too.
Yeah.
Okay, brother. Hey, thanks as always for the time. We really appreciate it, and good luck on Thursday night. And let's keep talking throughout, man. I love how you're putting up your putting over your coaches, your teammates, your gym. I think that's amazing, and I think more shine needs to come over there at Biltmore Kickboxing.
Definitely, man. I mean, you guys, if y'all want to do a little coverage on that, that'd be awesome, man.
It's a good idea. I definitely will pitch that to the editors. Thanks, brother.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
That is Andre Harrison. Why hasn't somebody done a big feature on Biltmore Kickboxing?
I don't know. I was going to tell him, though, that I always make it a point in my breakdowns to include Biltmore Kickboxing, Keith Trimble. And when we had him on last time, I actually gave Biltmore Kickboxing and Keith Trimble props and made it a point to bring it up. But I do agree with Andre. It is up to the media to do a better job. So I feel Andre there. I'm not.
Well, it's on the media, but at the same time, I believe that gym, whether they have an exclusive PR person or someone that cares about them, a manager or something, they can reach out to the media too. All right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be calling on the international line to Justin Ledet. Quick shout out on the way out to the YouTube chatters, David Flores Jr., T, the human morons in there, guys. Big shout out to him. We'll be right back after this break.
The underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
The 2018 NBA Summer League is lighting up Las Vegas, and NBA Radio is bringing you exclusive access to all the action. If you missed any of their interviews with Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr, Dr. J. Julius Erving, and many more, you can hear them streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. Just search NBA Radio. Danny, what's the update?
The update is I got hung up on. So I'm gonna try all over again. He was supposed to be connecting me to his room, and I had the hold music and everything, and then just disconnected as soon as I got you guys in.
You've mistaken, Danny.
So then we're gonna do our daily debate, and then we'll give it one more attempt, and then at that point we did what we could.
You think the hold music in German is like Right Said Fred or something? Just over and over.
It was so weird, and
Amadeus. Amadeus. All right, here we go.
It was creepy.
All right, thanks for trying. We'll give it one more shot. But right now, let's do the daily debate. Here is the question for today. Considering all the variables, potential sponsors, potential viewers, potential purses, etc., which U.S.-based promotion seems the best for a young prospect to sign with? Bellator, PFL, UFC. Again, guys, consider all the variables, sponsors, viewers, purses. Which U.S.-based promotion seems to be the best fit, I would say, for a young prospect to sign with? You want to start off, guys?
Sure. I am not going to come into the UFC and cut my teeth there, because I'm going to have to put up with a lot of shit before I start to actually make money. As long as I have the confidence in my career that I can keep winning, I'm going to go into the PFL and make a quick million, and then from there, I'm going to be a free agent, and I'm going to say, everyone else, choose. But I'm going to do my job, and that is just winning. And if I'm going to do that, if I can put together 4 straight wins in the UFC, why don't I just put 4 straight together in PFL and win $1 million? Then go to the UFC, where I'm even more marketable now. I would start with the PFL.
Dan, Tom?
I agree with Goes in the UFC. You know, you don't want to learn lessons and cut your teeth there. Key word here, young fighters. But it's funny. I would even put that same description toward Bellator, where I feel like, you know, they're using a lot of local draws and even some notable names you'll see in the prelims, but they even at Bellator they get a little bit buried there. So unless you're one of the people that they're trying to promote and really foster, unless you're one of those select few, then maybe not even Bellator. I would say PFL, similar to the reasons as Goes, but more importantly, we're seeing a lot of upsets by the odds, right? So we're seeing a lot of guys kind of crossing on the timelines in that even kind of cross-category field that Bellator kind of initially had with their tournament structure, where, you know, you're taking the politics out of it, so it allows these younger fighters to actually score big scalps on their wall, possibly get a big payday, and again, it's at a nice kind of high stakes for money, but lesser stakes is you're not in the UFC. You're not damaging your chances of getting there or ruining, you know, your record to a certain extent.
Man, you guys nailed it. Honestly, PFL probably would be it for me. But as I'm saying that, I also remember the Contender Series, and Sean O'Malley came through there, undefeated fighter, won the Contender Series, and was already starting to become a star. And now, of course, he's had a couple wins in the UFC, and he seems to be like somebody the UFC's shoving their chips behind. So there is something to be said for that. But do you put time into your own career to market yourself? Because if you do and you're good at it, you know, and you have a shtick or a look, then I think the UFC is very, very tough to top.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you said it. 4 fights in a row, 5 fights in a row, or whatever it is to get through a season, and you could possibly be making $1 million to reinvest in yourself. You know, coaches and more, learning more techniques, better training partners. So I think PFL just makes the most sense, but there are going to be people like Sean O'Malley that can break that trend and do it through the UFC. PFL, I just think about Ed Ruth and MVP, and it's great that they're protecting them a little bit. But like Ed Ruth, he was still a prelim guy, you know, and then all of a sudden now he's in a Grand Prix. I feel like
Sharks
in MMA, it's just a steeper curve. In boxing, it's like, well, he's 20-0. Let's give him 5 more, you know, and then all of a sudden he's 25-0. Now the big fights come. In MMA, man, you win 3-4 in a row, and if you got skills, if you're coming out of a wrestling program like Penn State, you're already kind of the man. You just need to sharpen up a few other things and get in there and do it. I think the jury's out on Bellator to see if that's going to work. Scott Coker's made it work before for Strikeforce, but he hasn't done it with Bellator. So I think PFL guys is probably just makes the most sense. Now, the audience didn't agree. 1,558 votes came in. 49% said Bellator. 43% said the UFC. 8% said PFL. That's bizarre to me.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Wow. So I don't know. I mean, the sponsor thing, all right, cool. But again, if you can market just, you see Sean O'Malley's got his own strain of pot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in PFL, you can get this as well. You can have, I don't know. What could it have been? That's what I'm thinking. Maybe I know they pay well, but they don't pay well to the ones just starting out. If you're a coveted free agent, Bellator pays very well. All right, but that's our daily debate for today, brought to you by the MMA Junkie radio team. All right, producer Danny Okers, what's our update?
I got Justin there and ready to go.
There you go. Check out Danny Okers, the producer, calling all the way to Hamburg, Germany, and lining up our last guest of the day, Justin Ledet, who will be fighting on Sunday, folks. Justin's undefeated overall in his career at 9-0, and he's 3-0 in the UFC. Again, on Sunday at UFC Fight Night 134 or UFC Hamburg, whatever you want to call it. Justin will be mixing it up with Alexander Rakic. He joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Justin? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for answering. We were able to track you down out there in Germany. How you got there a little bit early? How are you adapting? Is your body ready to go? Are you already on Hamburg time?
Yeah, for sure. The first couple of days were difficult, but shoot, it stays sunlight out here from like 5 in the morning all the way to like 10 o'clock at night. So It was pretty easy to get on track once we got out here.
If I'm not mistaken, the hamburger originates from Hamburg, and you are a heavyweight. But I understand you're going to be in athletic competition coming up very soon. But at some point, will you be taking in some Hamburg cuisine more specifically a hamburger?
Well, actually, this is my first fight moving down to light heavyweight at 205. So this will be my first time at 205 in the UFC.
No hamburgers for you then?
Nah, for sure, no hamburgers.
Tough cut? How's it been?
It's been pretty easy, man. Just feeling great and full of energy, really, man. I really ain't been missing no meals. Whole training camp, I walked around like 220, 225, so, and I was eating like 5-6 meals a day, but it was all very nutritious, very healthy meals by my nutritionist, so everything was great for me, man.
Justin, you were 9-0 and overall, 3-0 in the UFC. Why'd you move down? You didn't feel like you were at least playing with house money? You know, you could ride it out until you had to, and then once some way bigger dude than you maybe, you know, checked you or gave you that first loss, then you could make the move?
Well, no, it was more of a lifestyle change. I wanted to, I did my research and just a bunch of different things, did a lot of reading, and I wanted to become vegetarian, and that's what I did for 8 months. I was vegetarian, and just for my health, because I want to be a martial artist. For a long time, I've been a fighter, but there's totally different between being a fighter and being a martial artist. And I want to be a martial artist, and my health is like my biggest concern. You know, I want to live a long, healthy life and be functional up in age, you know, and vegetarian, being vegan, that's the best way to go, and being healthy and having longevity and not getting cancer and, you know, having diabetes when you get older and stuff. So that was one of the main things that I wanted to change about my life. And so that was away from fighting. That's what I wanted to change about my life. And so when that happened, I already knew that I was going to have to drop down a weight class. So really that's the reason why I moved down to 205.
You know, Justin could have just answered that question by saying, I didn't want to be like you, fat boy. Because I have a poor diet, and I do indulge in burgers. But I respect what you said, my man. How much weight automatically came off just in those 8 months, just on the lifestyle change itself?
Well, man, after my last fight, the UFC said they couldn't book me again before the end of the year. So I took some time off, had my birthday, September 28th, like right after the fight, and I was weighing probably about a good 255, just kind of, you know, eating whatever I wanted to, and then I decided to make the change, and then it got to be where I actually had to, once training camp started, I had to add meat back to my diet because I was losing too much weight. I went vegetarian in November, and by April, May, I was like at 210, so. And I didn't change anything but my diet. I was still doing 2 and 3 a days. It just with the vegetarianism, it just fell right off. So I'd have to say about 40, 50 pounds just fell off of me.
But now you brought back the meat, but then you're now completely vegan, vegetarian? What are you now?
Right now, while I'm in training camp, I add meat back to my diet, but I'm pretty sure after training camp, I'll go back to being vegetarian for a little bit.
Red meat, chicken, all of it, or some of it?
Mostly I do all natural meat. Like if I do get meat, it's from the farmer's market, so it's going to be chicken and turkey with no hormones, no antibiotics, no steroids, nothing like that. And then a bunch of my buddies are hunters, so they give me all their deer meat and stuff like that, and also bison meat. But no actual like cow meat or steaks or anything like that.
This will be interesting with you bringing over a very attractive record. Again, 9-0 overall, 3-0 in the UFC. But light heavyweight is going to get interesting, you know what I mean? Because Daniel Cormier has put a timeline out there of when he thinks he'll be done. So this title, that title could be up for grabs. And we've been kind of talking about all the possibilities with Shogun fighting and Alexander fighting and Corey and Teixeira. This will be a nice platform for you to throw your name into the hat if you get a win on Sunday.
Definitely, that's my goal, man, for this fight, man. There's a lot of light heavyweights on this card, and it's my first light heavyweight fight in the UFC. I actually started my career light heavyweight, but I was a lot younger then. But man, I'm here to shake things up and let people know that, hey, man, I'm a real contender, especially in the light heavyweight division. And I'm gonna start stopping some people. So that's the goal right there, to shake things up. They ranked me top 15 before I left the heavyweight division, so I'm coming in to get a win and hopefully get in that top 10.
Justin,
ranking.
can we keep you a couple minutes of overtime just to finish the interview, just because we're coming up against the clock right now?
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Right, cool. Just hang with us right there for about 10 seconds. We'll get you in some overtime. Sirius XM audience, you have more combat sports programming headed the way. Rest of you head on over to youtube.com/MMAjunkie video.
And the one bandits crashing almost holds down the drain. Fever, Las Vegas turning day into nighttime, turning night into daytime. If you see it once, you'll never be the same again. I'm gonna keep on the run.
You guys are clear for overtime.
All right, we're going to do a couple minutes of overtime here, and now let me turn it over to the co-hosts, Goes and Dan. Goes, what do you have for Justin Ledet?
Justin, the streak that you were on, coming from heavyweight, do you feel like you carry that same momentum into light heavyweight, or does it feel like you have to start over in a sense?
Man, I feel like I got to start over, man. I don't know what's been going on with getting me booked fights. So as far as that goes, I mean, my last 2 years have been almost no activity. Last year because of my injury and that USADA crap, and then this year just because of UFC won't book me. I don't know. Like I said, last year after my September fight, I wanted to get right back in the ring, and they said they couldn't book me before the end of the year. So I was like, all right, well, I'll take that time to go down to 12-5. I gave them a timeline of when I would be ready. Said I'd be ready March, and then they hit me with the July fight. So I'm coming from, I feel like I have no momentum, so I got something to prove. I feel like, they're kind of overlooking me like, I'm nobody. So I got to come in here and show them that I am somebody that, that they need to start looking at and promoting, and that I am somebody in the light heavyweight division.
Justin, so I gotta jump in here and ask, if they tell you that, and like you said, your last 2 fights, there's so much time in between, you seem to be taking it in stride, but at any point have you said, why? What's wrong? What can I do? And ask for more answers from the promotion? I mean, you come from a boxing background. You definitely have some skills there, and I know Dana loves those guys that can throw hands and have those types of skills. You're undefeated. You speak very well. Like I'm missing, something's missing here.
Man, you know what? I'm just as confused as you, man. I don't know what's going on. So really, I guess I just got to go in there and start talking with my fighting. I guess I haven't been putting on good enough performances, man. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not coming with a negative view. I'm looking at the positive side of everything. And hey, you know what? If I'm not doing my job good enough, all right. I'm coming in here to fight to do my job even better. And that's how I'm looking at the situation. If they don't want to give me fights, and obviously I'm not creating, exciting enough fights. So, you know, this fight's definitely going to be exciting one way or another. I'm not looking to go in this fight and win at all. A win or loss, that's not what I'm looking to do. I'm going in here for a performance, and it's going to be a fucking badass performance because I'm coming in here just to, you know, show the UFC that, hey, man, I'm one of the fighters that you need to start putting on every card that, you know, that I want to be on. So I saw that September 8th, they got a UFC Dallas card, and I won on that card. You know, I got hurt on the UFC Houston card, and I won on that UFC Dallas card. So I'm coming here with some fire in my ass, and that's what I'm gunning for, man.
That's kind of where I wanted to go. Was this would be 4 straight. I felt like, I don't know where you're at contract-wise, but I feel like a win here would at least, I mean, Hamburg is nice and everything, but let's get you back in the States, right, and get you on a main card somewhere here. I think that would be a perfect spot for you. Is that something that you're going to stress to them after the fight, behind the scenes, or in the post-fight interview?
Man, I don't even know. I think unless they come with something that's crazy, this will probably be the last time that I fight out the country. This has been difficult to say the least, just with a lot of things going on. Like I said, I'm cutting weight, and my nutritionist, he sent me with like 30 meals, and they almost all got destroyed in the when I brought them on the plane. So I've got my luggage, which the airline lost my luggage. This is 2 fights in a row where the airline lost my luggage. When I fought back in Pittsburgh, they lost my luggage for like 3 days, and then when I flew to Hamburg, they lost my luggage for like 2 or 3 days. It had all my meals in it. They pretty much ruined all my meals. So now I'm walking around Hamburg trying to look for stuff that I can eat. Everything's in German, you know what I mean? So I'm having a hard time, to say the least, trying to find things that I can't eat and everything like that. So this will probably be the last time that I fight out of country, no matter what. I don't care if I got to wait a year or so to fight. This will probably be the last time.
That's brutal.
He's taking it in stride, too. That does suck, man. All your pre-planned meals and first cut, that's tough, you know, because you don't know how your weight cut's going to go. So, but I don't want to make you more anxious about it than, you know, than you may already be. But in your voice, I'm hearing that you're taking things in stride. I'm sure you'll figure it out. All right, Dan, Tom, what do you have for Justin Ledet?
Man, yeah, I was just thinking about that. Reminds me of that U-571 movie where the soldiers, they get the German sub and everything's in German. They got to think on the fly and figure it out because they're in combat, and that's kind of you know, Justin Ledet's situation over there. But Justin, let me ask you, man. Obviously, speaking with your performance is the most important thing, and for what it's worth, I really enjoy your style, man. But you've also got some swagger to you, and if people can't tell from the interview, you know, I believe you've shown that, you know, in snippets with your past performances and a little bit of mic time you've been given. Is there anything that maybe you want to say and get off your chest when you do get the mic, whether it be calling out a name or just, you know, doing one of those moves appealing to the audience and saying, do you like that style? And I'm sure, you know, the audience will say yeah, and you kind of put it back on the promotion. Do you have anything like that in your head that you're working on, or?
Man, I really don't know, honestly. Like you said, I'm trying to take everything in stride, and I want to show the UFC that I am a company man. That, you know, if they need me to do something, then I'm the guy to do it. I've been trying to take quick, short notice fights all year, and they haven't let me. So I don't know what's going on with that. But like I said, I'm trying to show them that I'm a company man, and that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to, you know, to cement my place in the organization. So we'll see. You know, when you get in the fight, emotions run high. You know, whatever may happen, I may get on the mic and I may lose my head or whatever. So I just let it kind of come to me and see what happens.
I got you. That's absolutely the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but yeah, there are some names that I do definitely got on my mind for the UFC Dallas if they give me the opportunity, for sure, though.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to curious with those names, but I know you don't want to spoil it because you have Alexander Rakic in front of you. But let me ask you about that. I'm excited about this match because people that don't know, obviously, if you know, you have a great style like I just alluded to. But Alexander, though, different striking style, more Dutch kickboxing. He's got a fun style too. Now, how do you break him down? Are we gonna maybe see kind of a Nate Diaz, Donald Cerrone repeat kind of a thing going on, or what do you think?
See, I think with that, man, I think the problem is that I've fought fighters like him before, but he's never fought a fighter like me before. You know what I mean? I feel like he's a very athletic fighter, just like myself. But, you know, like you said, he comes from that kickboxing background, and I feel like I do great against those kickboxers. Chase Sherman, Mark Godbeer, both, you know, really good kickboxers, and I think Rakic is going to fall underneath that banner of being like those guys, you know. except with, he has a little bit more movement, head movement and stuff like that, a little quicker, but, for the most part, overall, it's going to be under that. When it comes to him facing me now, I feel like he hasn't faced, a person with my striking ability, what I can do in there, my movement, head movement, and everything that I can do in there. So, like you said, it's going to be a fun style, a fun fight to watch. And then we're the guys on the card that throw the most punches. I saw, I throw, 11.7 significant strikes per minute, and he throws, I think 10.4 significant strikes per minute. So right there should tell you that, it's going to be fireworks when we get in there. I'm not pulling no punches, and I'm going forward. I ain't taking no steps back. So it should be a hell of a fight, man. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to it as well, man. It's been real fun chatting with you here on the show. I hope things go your way on Sunday, and then I'd love to see you on the Dallas card as well. I'm a big records guy, and your record is a nice big shiny O in the loss column. You now have 3 fights in the UFC, so you definitely prove you belong and that you're doing well there. So good on you, Justin Ledet. You speak very well. I'm still having difficulty figuring out why the UFC hasn't embraced you more, but maybe this will be 2018. Hamburg, Dallas, finish out the year, maybe with one more fight, or who knows, and all of a sudden you'll be on the map more than you already should be. But I hope you find the food that you're looking for out in Hamburg. I want to thank you for the time, here on Fight Week, squeezing us in. We really appreciate it, and good luck on Sunday.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, man.
All right, take care, Justin. See ya.
All right, you too.
Later.
Bye.
Man, what a chill dude, huh?
Yeah, very chill.
What am I missing
Especially,
here?
Especially considering all the
food,
bad luck he's had.
man. A weight cut traveling for that would. I mean, I just bought my a bunch of my prepackaged meals for the week, and I'm just like an average Joe. And if those got messed up in the drive home, I'd be like, oh man.
How does it get messed up on a plane?
Well, they lost his luggage, so all the moving. I bet you the containers got crushed, maybe, or food fell out, or food spoiled.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we could have asked them a little bit more, but I knew we were working on OT and an international call. Yeah. But I was just scanning right quick on his Instagram, and he's got pictures that show a likable dude. There's a throwback to that looks like maybe a prom picture. He's plugging his gym. He's plugging his sponsors. A plug for Memorial Day. The significance of it. Friends, smiles. I don't know. Would he strangle a puppy when he was younger or something?
No
and people won't forgive him about it. I don't understand what's not to like about the dude. Seems like a cool dude. But anyway, that's our show for today. Thanks, Danny. Honestly, I know those calls are tough, but you figured it out. But it wasn't Danny. It was Goes that had the little Muttley giggle, huh? Mm-hmm. Was it with the question that he had about U571? Yeah. What cracked you up about it?
Because it's like his 4th movie reference on the show.
I know.
When he said it, I was like that. Cause
I thought it was Danny.
You like
I love U571.
So I was like, he finally got one that he's going to want to co-sign on.
I thought it was Danny for sure, because Danny kind of does a lot of those like that. Did you catch that, Danny, when the Ghost did it?
I heard it. That's why I was very shocked when you asked if it was me. Because I was like, I hear it.
Of a movie, I was like, here we go. When he said U571, I was like, oh, okay, bingo. He hit one.
I definitely thought it was going to be something else. I was not thinking U571 was going to be the movie reference Dan was going to.
U571's an awesome movie, man.
You also
I thought Crimson Tide was a good movie, but U571's either right up there, or I may even like it more.
The skipper always has to know what to do, even when he doesn't.
Yeah.
Hey, text me I've already forgotten the movie. I know which one. The one we talked about earlier, the drum.
Whiplash. Yeah, I'll text you.
We gotta watch that.
Yeah.
Whiplash.
Whiplash is good.
All right. Have you? Oh no, you just said it. Okay. All right. We got to get out of here. Shout out to myself for lighting out the Justin Ledet interview. Who's Muttley again? Is that Danny?
Now I'm looking down and Danny has this gif of what is this, like a T-Rex running and flipping with
it's so good.
Trips and then flies into the wrap.
Oh. Hey, Juliet.
That is close to Dino, yeah, okay.
Danny's trying to say that Dino from the Flintstones is a raptor. GIF. Isn't he a brontosaurus? He's a little brontosaurus, isn't he? She would go with brontosaurus, too.
This gift, though, helps strengthens Danny's argument, I will say. I'm on the brontosaurus train. I'm just saying this gift kind of, I see where he gets it from.
But why wouldn't they have at least been a little bit mean? A raptor, all I can think of a raptor is it's mean.
My only reason for saying raptor is because his front legs, Dino's front legs, are like smaller than his back legs. So he wouldn't be able to walk on all fours.
That doesn't seem like as a technicality as as Dino's just such a friendly.
I feel like you have to do the Steve Irwin trick, you know, where you put the finger in the hole and check it.
What?
When I was younger, I made the mistake.
That's more of a Dan Tom reference.
I made the mistake of thinking, I don't know why I said this, but I thought Counting Crows was a country band. And then I realized that I was so wrong. And I wish I could go back to that moment and just shut up. Danny, I hope you have that moment at some point where you said, what was I thinking when I thought Dino was a raptor?
Look, I am 110% willing to admit he's not a raptor, but he's not a brontosaurus.
What the fuck is he then? There's got to be something. We haven't been arguing for nothing.
Well, somebody in the YouTube chat said
he's pansexual?
They made up a species for him. Whatever it is.
Is that written somewhere, or is that just somebody being a
Yeah, they
moron?
were saying, they said look it up. It wasn't human moron. It was
Snorkasaurus.
Listen,
how
how about
they actually gave it a name?
Yeah, but it's made up. It's not an actual dinosaur. They just made it up on the Flint.
They made it for the TV show, yeah.
Guys, he's a brontosaurus who identifies as a raptor. How about that?
He's a Snorkasaurus featured in the Hanna-Barbera, but a Snorkasaurus isn't real, in other words.
Okay.
So they just made it up. So it's not like we all went, wait, we were wrong. He was a Snorkasaurus.
He identifies as a Snorkasaurus.
Right, but let's say we stand out on
Las reason why I want
If you stand out on Las Vegas Boulevard and just show the picture and go, what is this? And, and here are your choices, raptor or brontosaurus, more people would say a brontosaurus.
Exactly.
In that picture alone, he's smiling and his tongue's hanging out. And he's like friendly. It's, I don't know. All right.
Why would they have a raptor in the house? It'd be the scariest thing ever.
They have a saber-toothed tiger as their pet, too.
Someone think of the kids.
That's so true. It's true. He does have a saber-tooth.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like...
Fred comes home with a limp one day, he's fucked.
He thought of that so quick. Oh, man.
Act like I didn't watch it as a kid.
All right, we got to get out. Tomorrow. What do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Wednesday.
We hadn't ran out of that song yet, Danny. You pulled the plug early on Johnny Cash. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by Curtis Blades, Bevon Lewis, Aspen Ladd. We're working on maybe one more guest. Thursday, Megan Olivi will be in studio with us. We'll also be catching up with Alex Hernandez. Remember him? He defeated Benil Dariush. And then Antonio McKee and AJ McKee will visit us on Friday. We'll also catch up with King Mo. So for Danny back east and Dan to my left and goes, I'm George. Have a nice day. Go out there and be a champion.
On down the sand.